Hey guys, I just want to talk about the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It stars Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, and it's directed by Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, this film is I give it a decent. It's decent for a Quentin Tarantino movie. Now, I've never really been a fan of Quentin Tarantino films, and I know that's kind of sacrilege to say because he's one of the top directors of all time. But Pulp Fiction wasn't my thing. It came out at a time when I really didn't understand a lot of the dynamics that went into a film like that. So I didn't like that. I didn't learn to like Kill Bill. Django Unchained was okay because with the source material we was dealing with slavery. But in this one, he tackles the history of Hollywood and the Sharon Tate murders. Now I don't really know much about, but I didn't know much about the Sharon Tate murders going in. Obviously, I knew that who Charles Manson was, what the Manson family was, and a little bit of their background of Manson wanting to start a race war, him being part of the counterculture movement, Helter Skelter, and things like that. But I didn't know much else. And in this film, it deals with that, but it also deals with changing shifts in Hollywood themes. In the beginning, Rick Dalton and his stunt double are very successful and very prosperous making these Western cowboy films, but after a while, the public taste changes and people don't like cowboy movies anymore. People are getting tired of these Sergio Leone spaghetti western type films, and they see themselves down on their luck. Like I said, I don't really like Tarantino, but one thing I will say about Tarantino is that he tackles genre films very well. Like he, like slavery movies, he tackles them very well. Even Django Unchained was kind of like a modern day western in a way. And I've always loved the western movies because they're kind of like our version in America of medieval movies, like what medieval movies are the European history, the period of Western expansion and manifest destiny is to American history. It was a time of lawlessness. It was a time of discovery. It was a time of when men were chivalrous, and it's a time that we look back fondly on in our literature and in our popular culture and popular imaginations. Instead of knights, we have cowboys. Instead of chivalry, we had a gentleman's code, and we had honor. And instead of going on the Crusades, guys were Indian fighters. So instead of Saracens, Indians. So it's kind of analogous in a sense. But that's why so much of the early films were about that and celebrated that ethos because that was the American story. Unfortunately, it's conquest and war between Indians and white settlers. You know, but during the counterculture after the civil rights movement, we started to move away from that and towards and Rick Dalton's character sees that. He doesn't really know how to adjust to it. To me, he was kind of like a John Wayne type. That kind of happened to John Wayne when Hollywood moved on from him. He kind of became this bitter old man. And in an ironic way, it keeps kind of happening to Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio because they're no longer in vogue in the way they were in the 90s. You know, the era of Titanic, the era of even The Reverend, which is a fairly modern film that Leo made. Hollywood is passing them by and they're looking at other actors. So it's kind of reflective on their own lives in a way. And all this stuff takes place in the backdrop of this historic murder by this psychopath, this famous psychopath. So I'm not gonna give away too much of the movie like I do with certain other movies, but I do recommend that you guys check this one out. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Whenever Hollywood does a movie about its own history, it's very interesting because Hollywood has a very tumultuous history. Hollywood's history started with immigrants, mostly Jewish immigrants, who didn't have anything. And much like um, the Jews of Europe, the Jews of America, when they came to America, they were completely relegated to the entertainment industry, like Jews in Europe were completely relegated to the banking industry. So it's a story about the machinations that shape our culture in the modern sense. And I love it. I love stories about how creativity came to be. You know, like even Shakespeare in Love, like seeing how Shakespeare allegedly wrote Romeo and Juliet at a time when England was on the cusp of globalism as well. England was expanding beyond her realm. It started off as a defensive war, a defense against the Spanish Armada, and then um, Queen Elizabeth I went out to conquer places in the Americas. And artistically, England was at its apex when Columbus wrote and produced. I love that movie, Shakespeare in Love, because it showed that. It showed him struggling to come up with this masterpiece. And similarly, this film shows um, a lot of the creative processes on the down end to where um, actors and actresses begin to feel like time has passed them by, like The Wrestler. No, the genre is no longer popular, so you try to look for other ways to sustain yourself. And the way they portrayed Bruce Lee in this movie is cool because the kung fu genre really hit big in the 70s. For some reason, the kung fu genre, people took to it. And because Bruce Lee was such an outsider in a contentious racial time, um, like I said, watch this film. It's one of the best period pieces ever. And like I said, it deals with creativity on a magnificent level.